The galaxy had always been vast, strange, and full of wonders that no single species could fully understand. For countless centuries, humans had been just one of many civilizations scattered among the stars. Other species often watched them with curiosity, some with suspicion and a few with quiet disdain. Humans were clever, adaptable, and surprisingly resilient, but most assumed their patience meant weakness. They were wrong. On the edges of the Veyron expanse, a region of space known for its dense asteroid belts and unpredictable solar storms, a coalition of alien empires convened in secret. Their leaders were tall, serpentine beings with translucent skin, glimmering in the cold light of the council chamber. Across from them, a cluster of insectoid strategists clicked their mandibles as they discussed their plans. The general mood was one of confidence. Humanity had never started a war beyond their solar system. They were patient, predictable, and polite. They could be manipulated, or so the aliens believed. "I do not see the point in caution," hissed the serpentine leader, Veitkar. "These humans have never fought us directly. Their fleets are strong, yes, but disorganized. A small strike here, a blockade there. Soon they will bend to our will." From a corner of the chamber, a young insectoid advisor shook its many limbs nervously. "But what if we miscalculate? They have technologies unknown to us. Their patience may hide power we cannot measure." Veitkar's eyes narrowed, their translucent skin glowing slightly red. "Patience is not strength. Patience is hesitation, and hesitation is a weakness we can exploit." Unseen, a small human intelligence probe drifted silently near the borders of the expanse, collecting data on alien movements. To the aliens, it was harmless, a tiny speck among the stars. To humanity, it was a reminder that they had been watching, always learning. Humans had long believed that knowledge and preparation were as powerful as weapons. They had long tolerated small annoyances, minor provocations, and the occasional territorial intrusion. Patience had been their shield. Meanwhile, aboard the human flagship Resolute, Admiral Selina Kyle stared at the galaxy projected before her. Star systems glimmered like scattered diamonds, each one a potential friend or foe. The reports from the Orion sector had been troubling. Alien fleets had begun unauthorized incursions, striking at human trade convoys and mining colonies. Each attack had been minor, avoidable, and easily contained. Humanity had responded with restraint. They had sent messages, warnings, and emissaries hoping to avoid bloodshed. Yet there was an unmistakable pattern emerging. The incursions were not random. They were deliberate, calculated, designed to test limits. Admiral Kale leaned back in her chair, her fingers drumming lightly against the console. "How much longer?" she murmured to herself. "Can we be patient?" Her thoughts were interrupted by the soft chime of the communications panel. Lieutenant Rin, her youngest officer, appeared on the screen. His face was tense, the glow of his console reflecting in his eyes. "Admiral, we've detected an unknown fleet near the Sarin Belt," he reported. "They are moving fast, shielded and armed with weapons we have not encountered before." Kale's eyes narrowed. "Unknown but not unnoticed," she said quietly. "Prepare the patrol squads. I want full reconnaissance but no engagement unless absolutely necessary. We are not the aggressors here." Even as she issued the orders, her mind raced. Humanity had survived wars on Earth that had tested endurance, morality, and ingenuity. They had survived pandemics, environmental disasters, and political collapses. They had survived contact with hostile civilizations beyond their solar system. Every time humans had endured, adapted, and come back stronger. Their patience was born not of weakness but of strategy. The fleet moved through the asteroid-strewn space of the Sarin Belt with quiet efficiency. Sensors scanned, drones patrolled, and human crews operated with a calm professionalism that had become their hallmark. Despite the tension, there was an underlying confidence aboard every ship. Humans had learned to read the galaxy not only with their instruments but with their instincts. They understood patterns, tendencies, and the unspoken rules that bound alien civilizations together. At the same time, a shadow moved across the belt. A small alien scout vessel, sleek and dangerous, slipped between asteroids. It was designed for speed, reconnaissance, and stealth. The aliens assumed it would go unnoticed by the humans. They assumed wrong. One of the human patrol ships, the Sentinel, detected the scout almost instantly. Its sensors picked up minute energy signatures, subtle gravitational shifts, and the faint heat traces of its propulsion system. Lieutenant Rin, commanding the Sentinel, studied the data. "Admiral," he said over the comm, They're here, and they're not alone. Kale's voice was calm, measured, but firm. Keep tracking them. Report everything. Do not engage unless fired upon. Remember, patience is our strength. Hours passed. The scout moved closer to a human convoy transporting vital resources from the mining colonies. Its intentions were clear: harassment, perhaps sabotage, perhaps worse. Humans had long endured such threats, but this time there was a subtle shift in the way they perceived danger. They were no longer content to wait for another provocation. In the observation room of the Resolute, Kale watched the holographic display. The convoy, a cluster of transport ships escorted by a few lightly armed frigates, was vulnerable. The scout's trajectory was aggressive. For the first time in decades, she felt the weight of imminent conflict pressing on humanity's patience. She turned to her second-in-command, Commander Era Voss. Prepare the defensive grid around the convoy. Use non-lethal interceptors first, but be ready for escalation. If they attack, we respond decisively but measuredly. Humanity has rules. We follow them even when others do not. Voss nodded. Understood, Admiral. All systems online. The scout struck at dawn. Its weapons flared, hitting the lead transport with a jolt that sent cargo tumbling into space. Alarms rang through the human ships. The escort frigates sprang into action, deploying shields, countermeasures, and warning volleys. For the first time, the aliens realized that patience could not always be tested. The humans moved with fluid precision. Drones intercepted incoming attacks, repulsor fields stabilized the convoy, and sensor jammers disrupted the alien targeting systems. Yet even as humans defended, they avoided unnecessary destruction. They incapacitated rather than annihilated, showcasing their skill, strategy, and restraint. After the attack, the scout fled, its mission partially successful, partially thwarted. The humans regrouped, repairing damage, tending to minor injuries, and scanning for further threats. Admiral Kale's voice resonated across the fleet. Report, she said simply. Lieutenant Rin's voice came back steady. Damage minimal. No casualties. Scout disengaged. They will reconsider future attacks, I believe. Kyle's eyes, reflecting the distant stars, softened. They will learn, Lieutenant. They always do. The incident spread quickly across human communications networks. Civilians, military personnel, and scientists alike watched the live data. The message was subtle but clear. Humanity was patient, yes, but they were not passive. Patience was not absence of action. It was preparation. It was endurance. And it could end at any moment. That evening, in the quiet of the observation deck, Kale considered the galaxy as it spun silently beneath the human fleet. Light years away, alien empires plotted, confident that humanity would remain passive. They did not understand that patience could be a weapon just as sharp as any laser, missile, or plasma cannon. Across the stars, humanity waited. But they were no longer willing to be tested indefinitely. Something had shifted. Something in the human spirit honed over millennia of survival was awakening. The galaxy had known restraint, diplomacy, and reason from humanity. But it had never seen what came when humans chose to act. The calm of deep space is often deceptive. What appeared to be endless silence could hide the faintest tremors of conflict, and for humans this silence had become a warning. They had endured enough tests, endured enough attacks on their colonies, and endured enough insults to their patience. The day of subtle warning was over. On the surface of the mining planet Vera 9, human engineers worked under the bright glow of its twin suns. The colony had been producing critical resources for decades. Rare metals used in energy systems, starship shields, and advanced communications. The miners were unaware that a fleet of alien warships had shadowed them for weeks, studying their routines, calculating the human response. At orbital command above Vera 9, Captain Idris Vol monitored the skies. His station was crowded with young officers, analysts, and pilots, all prepared for routine patrols. Suddenly, alarms blared across the command deck. "Sir," called Lieutenant Mara Lin, her fingers dancing over the control panels, "we've detected multiple alien ships entering the sector. They're heavily armed and moving at high speed toward the colony." Vol's eyes narrowed. "How many?" "5, sir. But they are coordinated and shielded, likely a strike team rather than a full fleet." The captain's jaw tightened. He had spent years defending human colonies, orchestrating patrols and intercepting smuggling raids. He knew this was no ordinary attack. He knew instinctively that patience had limits, and for too long, humans had waited. "Alert the colony and prepare the defensive grid," Val ordered. "All drones, all interceptors, ready. And ensure civilian transports are secured. We will protect every life we can." As alarms echoed across Vera 9, families ran to shelters, miners hurried to evacuation points, and the human defenders took their positions. The alien fleet struck with precision. Energy blasts ripped through the skies, targeting supply ships and mining stations. Explosions scattered debris into orbit, while smaller alien craft attempted to board key facilities. The humans responded immediately. Starfighter squadrons darted through the debris, intercepting incoming missiles and energy beams. Defensive drones formed a web of protection around the colony, while automated turrets fired in carefully calculated patterns. Every human action was swift, coordinated, and purposeful. Yet even as they fought, the humans were not reckless. Captain Val watched as his drones intercepted an alien fighter trying to breach the shield perimeter. Instead of obliterating it, they disabled its engines and forced it to drift away. Every human action sent a clear message. Restraint was part of strength, and control was part of power. In orbit above the planet, the human flagship Resolute activated its sensors, tracing alien movements. Admiral Selena Kale aboard the ship monitored the attack closely. "This is the moment we have prepared for," she said to her officers. "They wanted to test us. Now they will understand that patience is not weakness, it is strategy." Kale's plan was simple but bold. Instead of engaging the enemy with brute force, she aimed to exploit their overconfidence. The humans had studied alien tactics for decades. They knew the patterns of attack, the predictable behavior in coordinated strikes, and the blind spots in their technology. All that remained was timing. On the planet below, Captain Val executed the first phase. Small teams of pilots led the alien ships into asteroid fields where human sensors predicted their paths. Using gravitational anomalies and debris, the humans trapped the alien vessels in positions where their weapons became ineffective. Alien crews struggled to adjust, their confidence giving way to confusion. From orbit, Resolute deployed a squadron of stealth drones. These drones were equipped with cutting-edge hacking modules, capable of disrupting alien navigation and weapon systems without causing permanent damage. Within minutes, alien energy shields flickered, weapons jammed, and communication networks faltered. The human fleet did not celebrate. Their focus was sharp. Every ship moved in coordinated harmony, using speed, clever tactics, and discipline to gain the upper hand. For the first time, the aliens realized that the humans they had underestimated were not only capable, they were formidable. Meanwhile, on the ground, civilians watched in awe as human defenders moved with precision. Evacuation teams guided miners and families to safety, while combat drones maintained protective barriers. Humans had prepared for this day not with aggression but with planning, resilience, and careful foresight. The tide began to turn. Alien ships attempted to retreat, but the humans had anticipated their moves. Captain Val signaled interceptors to cut off escape routes. Stealth drones disabled critical engines, and energy nets contained the remaining vessels. Within hours, the alien strike force was neutralized. In the aftermath, human engineers quickly repaired damaged stations, while medical teams tended to the few minor injuries. Admiral Kale addressed her crew. "Today we have defended our people, our colonies, and our honor," she said. "But remember, this is not just about defense. This is about sending a message to the galaxy. Humanity's patience is finite. We endure, we plan, we adapt, but we will not tolerate deliberate attacks. Not anymore." The news of the attack spread rapidly across human-controlled space. Civilians, scientists, and military personnel celebrated quietly but purposefully. Humanity had shown that they could endure, but also that they could strike decisively when provoked. Across the galaxy, alien races took notice. Intelligence reports intercepted communications, and fleeing pilots described humans not as passive observers, but as active defenders capable of precise, relentless action. Even among allies, admiration grew. Colonies that had long relied on trade agreements and defensive pacts now looked to human fleets for leadership. Humans had demonstrated a balance of restraint and power that few species could match. Every decision had been calculated, every action measured. And yet the underlying message was clear. Patience had its limits. Back aboard Resolute, Admiral Kale convened her council. Analysts displayed real-time data, simulations, and potential future threats. They will return, Kyle said, her gaze steady. They will test us again. But we have made the first statement. They will think twice before attacking humans without provocation. Captain Val nodded. And if they don't think twice? Kale's expression hardened. Then we act. Not recklessly, not blindly, but decisively. Humanity does not start wars lightly. We finish them with strategy, skill, and precision. That night the stars over Vera 9 seemed brighter, calmer, and yet more alive. Humanity had survived its first major test beyond the solar system, and in doing so, they had revealed a new truth to the galaxy. Humans were patient, adaptable, and intelligent, but they were also capable of action that would echo through star systems for generations. Among the aliens, panic spread quietly at first, then more openly. Reports of the strike reached their homeworlds, transmitted in urgent messages and secretive channels. They are different than we believed, a young officer whispered, her voice trembling. We assumed patience meant weakness, but they were precise, ruthless in calculation, and they spared lives. Why? Why not destroy everything? Her commander remained silent. No one had the answer, and that silence spoke volumes. Across the galaxy, whispers began. Perhaps humans were no longer the species to underestimate. Perhaps patience had been hiding a power others could not comprehend. In the following days, Admiral Kale oversaw the reinforcement of strategic outposts and the reorganization of fleet patrols. Humans continued to defend, but preparation for the next encounter was underway. Every minor skirmish, every intelligence report, every tactical exercise was now informed by the principle that patience is not endless, and humanity would act when necessary. On the bridge of Resolute, Kale stared at the holographic projection of the galaxy. Star systems stretched infinitely, each one holding opportunities and challenges. They tested us today, she said quietly. They will test us again. And when they do, they will find that humanity is not only enduring but unstoppable when provoked. The spark had ignited. Patience had guided humans this far. But a new era was dawning. An era in which the galaxy would finally see the consequences of testing humanity's resolve. The humans had waited, but no longer. The day of subtle warnings and silent endurance was over. Across the stars, fleets moved, colonies watched, and the galaxy trembled in anticipation. Humanity had sent its first message. Patience was a shield, but it could become a sword. And when humanity acted, the universe would remember. The galaxy had long underestimated humanity. For centuries, alien empires had assumed that humans' patience was weakness, that their endurance meant compliance. They were wrong. The events at Vera 9 had changed everything. But humans were only beginning to show what they were capable of. A week after the attack on Vera 9, intelligence reports indicated multiple alien fleets were mobilizing. Rumors of revenge spread through the corridors of human command centers. Humans knew the aliens would retaliate, but this was not fear, it was expectation. They had trained for this moment. They had planned. They had waited. And now it was time to show that patience was not endless. Captain Idris Val stood aboard the Resolute, flanked by his officers, studying a holographic map of the Orion sector. Alien fleets were massing at key points. The asteroid clusters of Tarvan, the gas giants of Lyra Prime, and the strategic orbital stations surrounding the Cretian colonies. Each location was critical to the alien coalition's logistics. Each was a target for human strategy. We are outnumbered, Val said, his voice steady. But numbers mean nothing if we strike with intelligence, coordination, and precision. We will not attack blindly. We will show them that humanity's patience is earned through strength, and that once it is gone, it is unstoppable. Admiral Celine Kale joined him, her calm presence commanding attention. The fleets are spread thin and they rely on outdated coordination systems, she explained. They expect fear. They expect hesitation. We will give them neither. Today, humanity becomes a storm they cannot predict. The first operation targeted the orbital station of Ralter, a key hub for alien communications and resource distribution. The station was heavily fortified with multiple layers of energy shields, automated turrets, and station fleets in orbit. Any traditional assault would have been suicidal. But humans did not fight traditionally. Captain Val's plan was daring. He divided his fleet into small stealth-equipped squads, Each squad carried specialized drones, hacking devices, and targeted EMP weapons. Their goal was not to destroy the station immediately, but to disable it systematically, leaving alien forces disoriented and vulnerable. As the squads approached Ralter, the aliens remained confident. Sensors detected the human ships but failed to interpret the intent. Humans moved with patience and precision. They struck first at the communication arrays, using stealth drones to infiltrate the system. Within minutes, the station's internal network was compromised, lights flickered, and automated defenses turned against their own ships. Val's squadron struck next. Using narrow asteroid corridors as cover, they disabled energy shields and neutralized orbital turrets without causing civilian casualties. The humans' moves were bold yet calculated. Every strike sent a clear message. Aggression against humans would meet unmatched precision and intelligence. Inside the station, alien commanders struggled to regain control. Automated systems malfunctioned. Ships meant to defend the station collided in confusion. Panic spread among the alien ranks, and for the first time, they realized they were facing an enemy unlike any they had underestimated. On the bridge of Resolute, Admiral Kale observed the operation with measured satisfaction. "Notice," she said, pointing to the holographic display, "how their overconfidence is their weakness. We do not strike with anger, we strike with strategy. Each move forces them to react, to reveal flaws they never expected to show." The humans pressed forward. Boarding teams using zero-gravity maneuvering systems entered the station and seized control of key command centers. Alien soldiers were subdued, not slaughtered, and prisoners were secured with care. Humanity's strength lay not only in firepower but in discipline and principle. By the time the station was under full human control, the galaxy had begun to take notice. Intelligence networks across star systems recorded the events in real time. Alien fleets retreated from nearby sectors, hesitant to confront a species capable of such calculated precision. Even distant observers could sense the shift. Humans were no longer merely enduring, they were asserting themselves. Captain Val stood at the center of Ralter Station, looking out at the alien fleets withdrawing into the void. His crew cheered quietly, but there was no recklessness. Each member understood the significance of their actions. The victory was not in destruction, but in demonstration. Humans could defend, attack, and control the outcome of a battle without losing discipline. Meanwhile, Admiral Kale convened the council aboard Resolute. "We have sent our first clear message," she said. "The galaxy now knows that humanity is patient, but not infinitely so. But our work does not end here. Other sectors will test us. They will attempt to exploit weaknesses, and when they do, we must respond again, with intelligence, precision, and unwavering resolve." In the following days, humans executed a series of carefully coordinated campaigns across the Orion sector. Supply lines were protected, colonies reinforced, and alien movements monitored continuously. Fleets moved like a single organism, responding to threats before they became crises. The aliens' attempts at counterattack were repeatedly foiled, often before they even engaged fully. Each human victory reinforced their growing reputation. Messages across colonies emphasized discipline, strategy, and restraint. Citizens took pride not just in survival, but in the demonstration of humanity's unique strength, the combination of intelligence, resilience, and moral principle. Even among allies, admiration grew. Humans were no longer seen as a species to be tolerated. They were a force to be respected. In a distant sector, alien leaders convened frantically. Reports of Ralter Station's capture, combined with intercepted communications from Vera 9, created a ripple of panic. "They are different than we assumed," a young officer admitted. "They anticipate. They adapt. They do not react blindly, they control the battle entirely." The older commanders remained silent. They had long underestimated humans, and now they faced consequences. Across their fleets, coordination faltered. Confidence was replaced with hesitation. Humanity had not only survived, they had imposed a new order of understanding. Patience was finite, and the consequences of testing it were profound. On the human side, Captain Val received a commendation from Admiral Kale. "You and your crews have set a standard," she said. "Not through anger, not through reckless power, but through discipline, intelligence, and courage." Humanity's message has resounded across the stars. Val nodded, his expression calm but determined. We have only begun, Admiral. The galaxy will continue to test us, but we will continue to show that patience is strength. And when patience ends, action is unstoppable. In the weeks that followed, the humans consolidated their control over newly liberated sectors. They provided protection to colonies under threat, repaired damaged infrastructure, and established communication networks to maintain order. Every action was precise, every decision calculated, every demonstration intentional. The galaxy was beginning to understand that humans were not simply another species. They were clever, resilient, and principled. They could endure hardship, negotiate with skill, and fight with precision. But most importantly, they had shown that once patience was exhausted, their response was swift, intelligent, and decisive. Humanity's message was clear. They would not tolerate attacks on their people, colonies, or values. They would endure, yes, but when provoked beyond limits, they would act in ways that left the galaxy both wary and respectful. Captain Val looked at the stars from the observation deck of Ralter Station. The lights of distant systems flickered like beacons of potential challenge. He knew that humans would face trials in the future, but for the first time the galaxy truly understood what it meant to test humanity. Patience had guided humans this far. Now it had been transformed into power, and the galaxy would feel its resounding roar. Above him, Admiral Kale sent her final report to Earth Command. Humans have defended, reclaimed, and demonstrated the strength of their patience. The galaxy will remember this moment. Humanity waits, but it waits with awareness, strategy, and the ability to act decisively when necessary. This is our new era. The resounding roar of humanity has begun. The galaxy had begun to notice a shift. Human actions were no longer isolated incidents. They were a statement, a declaration that patience had limits and that humanity would act when provoked. Across the Orion sector, alien fleets were reorganizing, unsure how to respond. Admiral Celine Kale stood on the bridge of Resolute, her gaze fixed on the holographic map of the galaxy. Stars blinked like distant eyes, each one a potential threat, each one a reminder of the delicate balance humanity now faced. Beside her, Captain Idris Val reviewed intelligence reports. They are forming alliances faster than expected, Val noted. They fear retaliation, but they also underestimate how precise we can be. Kale nodded. We need to continue showing strength, but also offer opportunity. Strength without principle is tyranny. Strength with restraint earns respect. We will act decisively, but fairly. Their next mission was both military and diplomatic. On the planet Aerith, an alien coalition was gathering resources and recruiting mercenaries to attack human colonies. The planet was strategic, surrounded by trade routes and vital for control of nearby systems. Humans could strike with overwhelming force. But Kale understood that demonstrating honor was just as important as demonstrating power. Captain Val led the fleet to Aerith's orbit, coordinating a delicate plan. Small, precise squadrons disabled the enemy's supply lines and communication hubs. Using stealth technology, human drones intercepted key targets, preventing large-scale damage while demonstrating superior control. On the planet's surface, human emissaries prepared to meet the alien council. They were unarmed, wearing symbols of diplomacy rather than aggression. Their presence sent a clear message. Humans could dominate through force, but they preferred resolution through reason. The alien leaders arrived, wary and tense. Their voices echoed in the council chamber, filled with suspicion and anger. You interfere in our affairs, one of them hissed. We will not be controlled by humans. Admiral Kale's voice was calm, unwavering. We do not seek control. We seek balance. Your forces threaten colonies under our protection. Your attacks have already caused loss of life and resources. We offer you a choice. Recognize human borders, cease hostile actions, and negotiate trade agreements fairly, or face consequences that are measured but inevitable. The aliens were taken aback. They expected aggression, not measured authority. They had seen human patience as weakness, but now it was clear that restraint was a strategic tool, and it came with power. Over the next days, small skirmishes continued around Aerith, but each was carefully managed. Humans neutralized threats without unnecessary destruction, showing not just strength but discipline. Slowly, alien leaders began to understand that these humans were not reckless warriors, but intelligent strategists capable of adapting, learning, and controlling outcomes. During the negotiations, Admiral Kale emphasized humanity's principles. We do not act out of anger. We act out of necessity and principle. Respect, fairness, and order are values we hold. You have the opportunity to join this understanding. Choose wisely. The Alien Council deliberated. Fear, respect, and caution mingled. They recognized that continued hostility would be met with precise, overwhelming retaliation. At the same time, they saw that compliance could bring protection, trade, and stability. Slowly, they agreed to a formal treaty. Borders were recognized, raids ceased, and fair trade began. News of the Aerith Agreement spread across nearby systems. Humans had achieved not only a military victory, but a diplomatic one. Their reputation for intelligence, discipline, and honor grew. Across the galaxy, other civilizations took note. Humans could endure, they could strike decisively, and they could negotiate with fairness. Yet, humans did not stop. Patrols continued, colonies were reinforced, and intelligence networks monitored potential threats. Every encounter was a lesson in strategy. Every victory a demonstration of balance. Humans were showing the galaxy that true strength was not in destruction alone, but in control, intelligence, and ethical action. On Ralter Station, Captain Vall reflected on the campaign. "We have shown them that patience has limits," he said. "We have shown them that humanity can act decisively but also honorably. They may still test us, but now they understand the stakes." Admiral Kale agreed. "Our goal is not to instill fear through violence alone, but to create a galaxy that respects principle. We act, we defend, and we negotiate, but always with purpose. This is humanity's strength." Across the stars, alien fleets hesitated. Where once they had acted boldly against humans, now they paused, reassessed, and calculated. Humanity's patience had been tested, and they had responded with intelligence, precision, and principle. The galaxy was learning an important lesson. Underestimate humans at your peril. Even among allies, admiration grew. Civilizations previously indifferent to human actions now sought guidance, collaboration, and protection. Humanity had proven that endurance and strategy, combined with ethical action, could redefine power. The galaxy had seen the first wave of human influence, and it was only the beginning. In the quiet moments aboard Resolute, Kale reflected on the broader picture. Humans had survived countless challenges on Earth, endured wars, famines, and societal collapse. They had mastered technology, space travel, and diplomacy. Now, tested by the galaxy itself, they were emerging not just as survivors, but as a model of strategic, principled power. Patience had guided humanity this far, but now it had become a force. Every decision, every battle, every negotiation reinforced that humans were not passive. They could endure, yes, but when necessary, they would act with clarity, intelligence, and authority. The galaxy was watching, learning, and beginning to respect the force that humans represented. And in that respect, humans found not only safety but influence. The stars of the Orion sector shimmered quietly, reflecting the calm before the next challenge. Humanity had demonstrated its capacity for action, restraint, and principle. Across the galaxy, civilizations realized that the humans were no longer merely participants. They were arbiters of consequence. Years passed, and the galaxy slowly adapted to the presence of humanity as a decisive force. Humans had established colonies, trade networks, and defensive patrols, all carefully balanced with diplomacy and strategy. Their victories at Vera 9, Ralter Station, and Aerith became legendary, lessons taught in academies across multiple systems. Admiral Kale had retired from active command, though her influence remained. Captain Vall now oversaw the Orion fleet, mentoring new generations of officers. Humanity's presence in the galaxy was no longer questioned. They had earned respect through intelligence, courage, and principle. The alien empires that had once dismissed humans as patient but weak now approached negotiations with caution. Treaties were signed, alliances formed, and interstellar trade expanded. Yet beneath the diplomacy lay the understanding. Humanity had limits, and when those limits were reached, their response was formidable, precise, and just historians in distant star systems chronicled the human rise with awe. Records spoke of patience as a weapon, endurance as a shield, and intelligence as a spear. Humans had rewritten the rules of engagement, not through reckless aggression but through strategy, skill, and ethical action. On a human colony world, young recruits trained in the arts of defense and diplomacy. They studied past campaigns, learning to anticipate threats, coordinate fleets, and negotiate with both power and restraint. The stories of Vera 9, Relter, and Aerith inspired them, instilling a sense of responsibility and pride. Humanity's approach became a model for others. Civilians and leaders alike understood that patience was not passive, that endurance was not submission, and that restraint could be the most powerful weapon of all. Across multiple sectors, species adapted. Learning that balance between power and principle was essential to survival. Captain Vall walked through the corridors of a starport, observing engineers repairing ships, students studying holographic simulations, and diplomats coordinating with alien representatives. Humanity had changed not only its destiny, but the entire galaxy's perception of strength. Admiral Kale, now older, watched young officers train aboard the Resolute, her eyes reflecting distant stars. "We did not lose our patience," she said softly to a nearby officer. "We chose when to act, and in that choice we became a force that even the galaxy respects." Humans continued to explore, expand, and protect. New colonies were founded on distant worlds, scientific discoveries advanced, and alliances strengthened. Yet the lesson of those early conflicts remained. Patience had limits, and when humanity finally chose action, it was decisive, calculated, and honorable. Across the stars, alien fleets moved with caution. Diplomats and leaders treated humans with respect, understanding that their endurance was matched by intelligence and capacity for action. The phrase "the day humanity lost its patience" became a legend, a warning and a lesson. In classrooms, training halls, and councils across the galaxy, species recounted the story. They spoke not of fear alone, but of respect earned through balance, principle, and capability. Humanity had demonstrated that survival, strategy, and ethics could coexist, and that when provoked, they could reshape the balance of power itself. On Earth, descendants of the original fleet officers and diplomats studied records of battles, strategies, and treaties. They knew that the galaxy's perception of humans had been transformed. Humanity's reputation was no longer simply about technology or endurance. It was about wisdom, principle, and the calculated choice to act. In the vast expanse of space, humans traveled freely, explored boldly, and defended with precision. Civilizations that once underestimated them now collaborated and learned. The galaxy, forever altered, would never forget the day humanity's patience finally reached its limit. And so, the legacy endured. Humans had survived, adapted, and risen, not through reckless force, but through strategy, resilience, and principle. The galaxy had learned a vital truth. Patience could be the mightiest weapon of all, and when it ended, humanity's roar would echo across the stars forever.